At JQ International, we create a joyful and welcoming space for a range of different identities. Our community includes people across the spectrum of sexuality, gender, race, and Jewish practice. Unfortunately, both the queer and Jewish communities are very familiar with violence and hate. As queerphobia and anti-Semitism are on the rise, it's important that we highlight our differences and show the world that it's good to be unique. In LA County, we celebrate diversity. We don't tolerate hate.
My name's Ben. I'm from Orange County, a queer Baharian Jew.
I'm a Jew who grew up in the Bible Belt.
I come from an Iraqi Jewish family.
I find so much pride in being my proudly Jewish self and my proudly trans self.
For me, I feel very lucky that this is not just my Persian community, my Jewish community, but my Persian Jewish community together as one.
I refuse to minimize any part of my identity for any different part. I'm 100% queer, 100% Jewish, and 100% proud.
We are diverse. We represent all different types of skills and passions and political affiliations and religious observation, and we are beautiful for that.
Within some Jewish communities, it is common to view queer identities as being at odds with religious observance. And within some queer communities, religion is viewed as hostile or incompatible with the LGBTQ lifestyle.
There are people in the community who are homophobic, but it isn't everybody. And the core belief in Jewish teachings is to love your neighbor, to love everybody as yourself. We are all one.
I think that there's more of us than people realize, especially my community specifically is Persian Jewish. So there's a lot of like, how dare you?
We're courageous. We're willing to be in spaces where we're not always welcome and still show up.
My sincere hope is that over the course of time, we find ourselves not only fully embedded and included and accepted in all of the Jewish spaces that we participate in, but uniquely valued and uplifted and embraced.
We are just as diverse and multifaceted and full of life and spirit, just like any other group of people. And we need your help. We need allies. We need support. We need to feel connected to the greater world as well.
We asked our community to share their thoughts on how we can eliminate hate in LA County.
My hope for reducing hate in our world is dialogue. Dialogue on both ends and both sides.
We have to learn how to look to each other and see each other in our humanity, in our love, in our yearning, in our fear, in our grief, in our sorrow. We have to find a way to look at each other and see an image of God.
We have to talk to people who disagree with us. We have to be in community with people who disagree with us.
Hate stops with education, and I think hate stops also with love.
And what we need is acceptance, because that's how we build a peaceful, more incredible world.
LA versus Hate is a community-centered organization designed to inspire people to stand up against hate. Reporting is the first step. Call 211 or visit our website to report an incident. And if you or a loved one is in need of support or resources, JQ International is here for you. Share the blue square emoji as the universal symbol to stand up to Jewish hate. There are countless letters and colors that make up both the queer and Jewish communities. And as we learn and celebrate each other, we stand stronger.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the JQ 2026 Impact Awards. My name is Neil Spears. I have the absolute honor of serving as JQ's board chair. We've got quite a program this afternoon. We're doing things a little differently this Impact Awards. You're going to get to hear in their own words from our amazing awardees. We have an amazing facilitator for this panel. So that's going to be the meat of what we're going to be doing today. I'm really grateful you all are here. It means that you support the queer community, the Jewish community, the queer Jewish community, and I hope you're here to have a good time, too. Did you enjoy the food? The waffles were really good. The quiche. We're glad. So that's our plan. We're going to give some awards. We're going to be inspired. We're going to dive into some of the current issues of the day. The courage to be is the topic for our panel conversation today. I want to thank our sponsors for today's event. They are listed on some of our boards in the back, both our ongoing institutional partners as well as folks who help make this event possible. So can we give a big round of applause to our sponsors for today? One theme you'll hear is that JQ does not do our work in a vacuum. We do not do this work alone. So we're lucky today to have with us the leaders of two of our LGBTQ synagogues in LA, Beth Chaim Chadashim and Congregation Kol Ami. And I'd like to invite up Rabbis Jillian Cameron and Lindy Resnick to share some words of welcome and grounding as we kick off our program.
Thank you so much, Neil, and thank you so much, everyone, for being here and for inviting us to be here.
We are so grateful to be with you and so grateful together to usher in this important moment and time of collaboration in the LA and wider Jewish community.
And we're thrilled to honor these wonderful folks who have made this Jewish community and our queer Jewish community what it is. And we're so grateful to be here to honor all of you and to hear your words of wisdom in a moment. But first, we wanted to just offer us an opportunity to look around, to be present in this moment, to think about all the things that have brought us here. Sometimes difficult things, a difficult year that has passed with challenges and with losses. And so let us take a deep breath together. Feel the strength and power and collaboration and community in this space. And we're grateful for all of us being together, being able to celebrate as well as hold each other up.
And let us feel the strength of being side by side with one another as allies and queer community. And let us feel that bring us forward into a future, God willing, filled with more hope and more strength and more resilience.
Thank you again for having us. We're so thrilled to celebrate with all of you.
Thank you so much. It's now my pleasure and honor to introduce JQ's founder and CEO, Asher Gellis.
Thank you. When I started JQ, the goal was to create a space where LGBTQ Jews could learn, connect, and thrive. Today, our theme is the courage to be. In a time when our community feels targeted, simply being authentic requires immense courage. But you don't have to do it alone when you have your friends and community at JQ. As a teen growing up here in the Los Angeles area, at a synagogue here in LA, I had a deep and joyful Jewish experience with a lot of amazing memories of what it was to grow up in a Jewish community that has still impacted me today. But around age 12, I realized I was different than the rest of the kids, at least as far as I understood than all the rest of the kids in my grade. And I started to struggle with what my sexual orientation was, and I also struggled being a very effeminate child. I didn't fit into the typical gender norms that were expected of me. And I would spend about a decade sort of suffering in silence around my sexual orientation and how I was being perceived. I was being called gay before I even knew what the word gay was, but when I started to understand what it meant to be gay, I looked around. While I had these amazing Jewish role models growing up, I did not have any LGBTQ role models, let alone LGBTQ Jewish role models. Now, you might think it's crazy growing up in Los Angeles to have had that experience, but when you're a child and pre-internet, like you really did not know where to turn. And I would tell you that even though we have internet today, I know that the youth in our community are still struggling to find those role models in our community. And thanks to the work of JQ, we have been able to address that and build communities and work with communities who want to grow with LGBTQ inclusion, and hear from the lessons that we've learned to help empower their youth and the generations moving forward. So here we are 20 years later. JQ has become a force for change in the community. Forgive me, but I'm going to just say this. I feel very confident about it. I think we're permanently weaved into the tapestry of the Los Angeles Jewish community. And everyone here is a part of that story, and we are so grateful that you all here today with us. I would like to share what this community truly means. I would like to invite up LJ and Adena. They are last year's honorees, 2 of our honorees from last year, and 2 of our co-chairs for this year's event. Come on, join me. And I'd like to hear a little bit from them.
Good morning, everyone. I grew up going to a Jewish day school where there were no other queer people, so I felt very isolated. By a stroke of luck, in 7th grade, I stumbled across JQ, and I begged my mom to let me join their support group. This group gave me a safe space where I could express myself and explore both my Jewish and queer identity at the same time. I cannot explain how important JQ is for intersectionality between the Jewish and LGBTQ+ community, because you don't have to choose one part of your identity, and everyone else around you understands your experiences. After joining the JQ Teen Advisory Board, I was fortunate enough to be an honoree at the Impact Awards last year. I'm now officially off to UC Santa Barbara. No doubt thanks to that award on my application. In all seriousness, JQ has prepared me to seek out my community in college and taught me priceless leadership skills that I will use beyond university. I hope I will continue to make JQ proud. The Teen Advisory Board allows me to extend the offer of a welcoming and important space to other teens that need it. The work JQ does is priceless, especially today where anti-Semitism and homophobia are at an all-time high. These spaces have never been more significant than they are now. You don't have to choose between being Jewish and queer, just choose JQ. Congratulations to this year's honorees.
Good morning. I had the joy of being an honoree last year for the Allyship Award, and I spoke then about what JQ means to me and to our broader community. When I think about that now, it really comes down to moments and real experiences that stay with you. One that stands out was a conversation I had with a woman in her 30s at a Queer the New Year event in my backyard a couple of years ago. She shared her story about how her relationship with her parents was cordial but incomplete. They didn't talk about who she loved or people in her life who brought her joy. They didn't fully see her, and while there wasn't outright rejection, there also wasn't true acceptance, and this was so sad and really, really stuck with me. I still tell the story about this young woman when I meet people and talk to them about JQ and its impact. No one should have to live in that in-between space, partially seen and partially known, and that is exactly why JQ matters. JQ creates spaces where LGBTQ+ Jews are celebrated, spaces where people can show up fully as their authentic selves without having to edit or hide who they are. Through affirming Jewish spaces, support groups, education, and community events, JQ is doing deeply meaningful work that changes lives and often in ways that we don't see. And for me, being a part of that, supporting it and helping it grow is something I care very deeply about, because everyone deserves to be and feel fully seen, fully accepted, and fully at home in their community. And if I had a glass, I would raise it to our honorees this year. Very, very pleased to welcome you into this special group of allies, supporters, trailblazers, and leaders. Thank you.
This is for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I need your arm going down the stairs.
Thank you both. To guide our conversation today, it is my absolute honor to introduce our moderator. She is an Emmy and Golden Globe nominated writer and producer known for Transparent and Pose. Please welcome Yona Spidel, AKA Our Lady J.
Hello. Thank you, Asher, LJ, and Adena. My name is Yona. I'm changing my name at the moment, so we're doing a lot of AKA Lady J. Hello, Los Angeles. We are doing something very special this year. We are stacking our awards right here at the top so that we can spend the rest of our time diving into a deep, uninterrupted conversation about mental health, resilience, and the courage to be. Let's welcome Neil Spears back to the podium to honor our 3 changemakers.
All right, team. The first award. We are so honored to give the Leadership Award to the incredible Lindsay Horvath. Lindsay, as many of you know, is a true public servant. She currently represents the 3rd District on the LA County Board of Supervisors, and she previously served on the West Hollywood City Council and as mayor of West Hollywood. Lindsay's been a huge friend to us in the Jewish community, in the LGBTQ community, and the queer Jewish community also, and just have always been there for us whenever we have needed anything, have always been by our sides through thick and thin. And that is the true kind of public service that we expect, but we don't take for granted. So it is an absolute honor today to congratulate Lindsay and present her with our JQ Leadership Award.
Just a little bit smaller up here. Thank you very, very much. I couldn't be more honored to receive this award, not only because of what it means, but because of who it represents. All of you are just the reason why I want to be of service. I couldn't be more grateful that a community like this exists, and I'm so grateful for the leadership that you show in our community, especially in a time such as this. I want to congratulate my fellow honorees, because to me, courage means doing the right thing that is really hard to do, but it is the necessary thing to do, and it is the right thing to do. And I think that more than anything sort of encapsulates this moment. Last summer, I went to Israel, and that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. But I thought it was essential for me as a leader of Los Angeles County's 3rd District, a community that includes the largest population of Jewish community members in the state of California, but certainly in Los Angeles. Right now, simply existing boldly often requires an unfair amount of bravery, but no one should have to endure that alone. And yes, we have a responsibility to step up and be the wind at people's back. And I can tell you that the firsthand experience I had last summer, and most importantly, the work that I get to do in the community with each of you, truly informs the work that we do at the county level, whether it's with LA versus Hate, our work on anti-Semitism, or the work that our Department of Mental Health offers. When we push for policy change at the county, I'm always thinking about the younger version of myself and anyone who's ever felt left alone or left out. And that experience makes us more compassionate leaders. So I never forget also the power of faith, and especially faith in community. And for me, intersectionality really means never having to prioritize or segregate our identities. In fact, I believe we're called to seek harmony in our diversity and within ourselves and our multiple identities and as a community. And that's what I strive for as your servant of the public and of the 3rd District. So I will always strive to be an ally. I am grateful for this recognition, and I'm here to help however I can. Thank you very much.
We're so lucky. Our next award is the Allyship Award, which we are thrilled to present to Rabbi Yoshi Zweibek. Judging from that applause, you know Rabbi Zweibek. He's the senior rabbi here at Stephen Wise Temple, who are also our generous host today. Thank you for having us. But Rabbi Zweibek isn't just any ordinary rabbi. He's a rabbi who's not afraid to put his neck out for issues that matter and to stand up for those who most urgently need our support. That includes the LGBTQ community. Under Rabbi Zweibek's leadership, Stephen Wise Temple and JQ have charted new paths together with our inclusion workshops, allowing JQ to help inspire systemic and lasting changes that make Jewish spaces more welcoming to folks like me. We've done more inclusion workshops here than I think any other synagogue. That's due in no small part to Rabbi Zweibek's leadership and his vision that we are all made in the image of the Holy One, no matter who we are or who we love. So in recognition of his enduring support that goes above and beyond, it's my pleasure to present JQ's Allyship Award to Rabbi Yoshi Zweibek.
Anyone else? Thank you so much, JQ, for this profound honor, and thank you, Lindsay and Nate. Thank you, Neil and Asher, and I just want to acknowledge my colleague, Rabbi Hersher, who's a past recipient. Thank you so much for your leadership. I want to begin with a commitment to keep showing up for one another, to build inclusive, embracing communities where every person, each created in God's image, is treated with kavod, with respect, and with chesed, with love. That commitment has been shaped by my own personal journey. I grew up in the Midwest in the 1970s. You can just imagine what that was like. On the elementary school playground, calling another boy the F word or saying something was gay was the ultimate put down. I share that because I know how far I have traveled and how far we still have to go. That journey has not been solitary. I want to acknowledge my mother of blessed memory, Hermine Zweibek, and my Aunt Judy, who just turned 90, who showed me what courage looks like. In the mid-1980s in Omaha, they organized a weekly brunch for AIDS patients at Temple Israel alongside their rabbi, Aryeh Azriel, over the objections of some members of the community who didn't want AIDS patients eating off the temple cutlery or entering the building. And my mom and aunt and the rabbi didn't care. Those brunches went on for several years. And I'm grateful to my beloved friend and colleague, Rabbi Sidney Mintz, who has helped me grow in this work more than she knows. She couldn't be here today, but she sends her love from the Bay Area. And to my spouse, Jacqueline, and our daughters, Isa, Ariella, and Nomi, who model embracing love every day. And to organizations like JQ, which have made me a better rabbi and a better human being. I'm also grateful to be part of a tradition wise and resilient enough to keep evolving. The North Star of that evolution is our core values. Among them, B'Tselem Elohim, the idea that every human being is created in God's image, not some people, every person, and the value of pikuach nefesh, the preservation of human life, so central that it overrides virtually every other value we hold. And this is a matter of life and death. According to the Trevor Project's 2024 survey, LGBTQ+ young people are more than 4 times as likely to attempt suicide than their peers, and 39% seriously considered it in the past year alone. This is not a statistic. This is a moral emergency. And this is why JQ's work is not optional. Inclusion is a sacred obligation. Which brings me to something I need to say plainly. Full inclusion must mean queer spaces welcome Jews fully, with their whole identities. With their whole identities, including their love for Israel and their belief that Jewish return to our ancestral homeland is a right, no less fundamental than the right to love whom we wish. We cannot champion belonging selectively. Either everyone belongs or the word means nothing. True allyship asks us to keep showing up, keep learning, and keep creating spaces where every person knows without doubt that they are seen and that who they are is sanctified. I'm deeply humbled by this award and deeply grateful to JQ for the courage, warmth, and care you bring to this work. Thank you.
Our next award, the Trailblazer Award, goes to our dear friend, Nate Looney. Nate is a true trailblazer and light for our whole country, dare I say maybe the whole world, for inclusion and belonging. Yeah, we can give a round of applause for that. He gets to do this work as his day job as the Director of Community Safety and Belonging at Jewish Federations of North America's Center for Jewish Belonging. Nate spearheaded the Federation's LGBTQ+ Pride mission to Israel last year, which several members of our community were able to take part in. Nate's a U.S. Army veteran and a leading voice for inclusion, not only for the LGBTQ community, but also for Jews of color, trans Jews, and all who have been marginalized and excluded. He gives generously of his time, serving on numerous boards, including JQ's. And beyond all of this, Nate, I just want to say everybody who knows you just feels your spirit, feels your love, feels your radical sense of having everyone's needs fulfilled, and inspiring us to be our best, most resilient versions of ourselves. Please join me in congratulating our trailblazer, Nate Looney.
I accidentally almost deleted my speech in that moment. So I just want to start by offering a quick thank you to JQ, to Asher, Neil, to my co-awardees. A thank you to everybody in this room, including my family, both blood and chosen. Without them, I would not be here. And without my dad's fashion sense, I wouldn't be dressed this well. I didn't set out to do this work. It found me. Sometimes you don't realize you're a trailblazer when you're in the trenches. As a Black, Afro-Latino, transgender, Jewish man who came up through the military, I had to figure out early what safety actually means. And not just physical safety, I had to learn to define what security meant for me. The kind of authenticity that lets you walk into a room with your whole self, leaving no part of yourself at the door. That's what this work is about. Courage isn't the absence of fear. And I can't emphasize this anymore, that courage is not the absence of fear. In the Army, fear alongside calculated action is what keeps you alive. Courage is deciding the work matters more than your comfort, whether it means shaping public policy or making sure somebody's government ID doesn't strip them of their dignity. So that someone's chosen name or preferred pronouns are acknowledged. We, all of us together, are building a world where you don't have to compartmentalize any part of yourself to belong. And before I sit down, I just want to make sure that y'all hear this. Every person in this room is a trailblazer. You don't need an award to prove it. You just have to keep showing up. Show up for yourself, show up for your community, show up for the person sitting right next to you today. We are all working together to build the world that fosters belonging for all of us, and I'm deeply honored to be receiving the Trailblazer Award today. Thank you.
Let's give one more round of applause to all three of our awardees, please. We're so lucky because now we get to hear more from them in their own words. So you got the little teasers, now we get the main dish. And I am so excited to hand the mic now over to Yona for our panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Congratulations, everyone. I am just beyond moved to be up here with all of you tonight. I said yes to this event. Thank you, Asher, for inviting me, because I need you. I need all of you. I need everyone in this room right now. And I know we need each other. So thank you for being here. Congratulations. And thank you for your incredible work. We just heard all of you touch and teach on the incredible weight of this moment. Lindsay, you talked about being the wind at someone's back. Rabbi Yoshi, you reframed inclusion as life-saving. And Nate, you highlighted the importance of creating a safety net around you with who you are and who we are in this world today. When all of you are looking at the landscape right now, where do you see the most urgent need for our community to show up for each other? And I leave this to anyone who wants to take the question first.
Nate nominated me to go first. I'm happy to do that. Thank you so much. Well, we are seeing attempts to roll back rights and real fear amongst members of the LGBTQ plus community and allies that some of those rights will be rolled back. I think about the joy. I was actually looking through, as I was preparing for today, things that I'd written and sermons that I'd given over the years, and I found something from Pride Month of 2021 celebrating the Supreme Court decision at that time, and thinking about, well, the Supreme Court could have a new decision that could roll back rights, and what would that mean in terms of marriage equity and other kinds of things. And then the squeeze that so many members of the LGBTQ plus community are feeling that I referenced in my remarks from the left and the right around Israel and around Jewish identity and their Zionism is something that is deeply concerning. And there are Jews who would otherwise be allies in this fight who might feel like there's not really a place for me in these spaces. So I'm not going to Pride March. I'm not interested in that because it's not a safe space for Jews where there's a lot of anti-Israel rhetoric. So I think the urgency of it all goes back to that value of pikuach nefesh. Lives are at stake. I was speaking to someone a little bit ago who shared that some of his classmates in high school had committed suicide because they were so closeted and so concerned about what that would mean to come out. So the urgency is real, and I feel like we're in this moment where 5 years ago or 10 years ago, it felt like it was a progressive kind of move. We're just going to keep moving in the right direction, and now it feels a little more pendular, and that's scary.
You know, it's interesting. I'm thinking about the surge data that Jewish Federations of North America published. And in the surge data, it highlighted the fact that after October 7th, our Jewish community, broad stroke, became more engaged in Jewish communal environment. However, with that study, what they noticed is that a year later, after doing the initial research, Jews that were either LGBTQ or Jews of color had receded from Jewish community at a faster rate than any other group. And so what this made us think about is like, what is it about the current circumstances of our country that has created such an influx of people that are holding marginalized Jewish identities coming into Jewish community? And at the same time, what is it within our community that had those folks running for the door faster than any other group? And so I see it as an area of urgent need for our broader Jewish community to foster inclusion for LGBTQ plus Jews. One, because we know that our statistics show that one of the largest group demographics to be growing within our Jewish community are LGBTQ plus Jews. Jews under the age of 25, it's something close to 25%, 20 to 25% are identifying as LGBT. So when we talk about building our community of the future, our future is showing us that it's going to be more diverse. And as a result of that, it's incumbent on us to be building the ecosystem that can hold people with the complexity of what we're dealing with today.
I have to say, after 20 years of doing this work, it's really heartbreaking to see how much I feel like we've taken steps back. And I say that not just with what's going on nationally or even globally when it comes to either the anti-Semitism, the homophobia, the transphobia, the racism, all of these horrible cancers that continue to like spread and grow. I'm also talking about what I'm witnessing with our community members. Yes, we've seen new people show up at our events that we've never had before, but the reason they're coming through our doors is they are feeling cut out of the communities that they live in their queer spaces or in largely their queer spaces. I think for our trans and non-binary community members, they have been the most impacted. They're coming to our events. They're thrilled to be there. There's a sadness often that many of them are carrying, and in my interactions with them, I hear an over and over theme that I keep hearing from them is what I weave together as a sense of isolation. The level of isolation that our community members are feeling is at an unprecedented number. We try very hard to be there more for our community, and we have our support groups, and we have our programs, and we have leadership opportunities. And it's beautiful. We have so many people interested in being involved, but it also comes with the responsibility of understanding that many of the folks who are coming through our doors are beyond the fact that they are feeling squeezed out of their communities. We are also seeing, for example, the greatest request for financial assistance that I have ever seen in 20 years of doing this work. LA, for example, very expensive city. It's getting harder and harder for folks. And we have more and more participants and community members who are just desperately seeking to come to a Shabbat dinner, and the highly subsidized price for the Shabbat dinner is a barrier for them. And so for us as an organization, and I can tell you after 20 years of doing this, the cycles, a lot of them repeat. I have a lot of gratitude to some of our partners here in the community, like the Federation and Jewish Community Foundation. They have streamlined process, which has been really great for us. But I will also tell you, in the years of the greatest need are also the years it's the hardest to fundraise. And while our costs have skyrocketed in the last 3 years, and we're subsidizing more and more every year, the donor support, the donor base has not been growing to match those costs. And so we as an organization are doing everything we can to be there for our community. And I can also tell you it's a very challenging time across the spectrum in trying to manage an organization, but also be there for our community. And so I'm so grateful to all of you that showed up today to help support the work that we're doing.
I would take it at two levels. First, as a community, I think the thing that we most are in need of is safe spaces for difficult discussion. Spaces where people know they can come together and really wrestle with the conversations that are happening maybe in quiet corners and of isolation, but really need to be had more broadly as community members. Safe spaces for those who share identity, and then safe spaces for people with mixed identities to come together and have that kind of exchange that is going to be necessary for us to create the harmony in the community that I talked about. So I think from a community level, that's the thing that's most needed. And on an individual level, I don't know about you, but in my experience, it's a little bit of managing sometimes the despair or the anger that I'm feeling because we can't be contributors to the hate that is out there. We have to make sure that despite the overwhelming feelings that we experience from the hate that exists in the world, that we are able to be productive in the work that we're doing while we're also taking care of ourselves. And I find, that can be one of the greatest challenges I face individually when I see the kinds of discrimination we are witnessing on our streets of all kinds. It makes me angry. And the fact that there's such blatant disregard and what feels like just a community just devoid of empathy for others' experience, it enrages me. And I think being honest about that is important, but not sitting so much in that we lose our ability to be productive or stay connected as community members.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I start to think about how when the global temperature turns up, we all compartmentalize parts of ourselves and we say, who can I be in this space to be safe? Who do I have to be when I'm over here versus who do I have to be over here? And that can really affect our mental health and how we, at the end of the day, wonder, who are we? How do we encourage each other? And maybe there's a spiritual answer to this. Maybe there's a political answer. I don't know. It's something I wrestle with. How do we encourage each other to be less compartmentalizing, so that when we come in, we don't have to just drop that part of our personality, whether it's what we believe about Israel, what we believe about trans medicine. Like, there are all these issues right now that so many people in this room are all struggling with. Like, we all fit into somewhere on the LGBT, whether it's an ally or being LGBT ourselves, and then to be Jewish and to talk about Israel. All of these things are really tricky to navigate. So how do we encourage spaces that we don't have to compartmentalize?
I'd like to say that it's easy. It's not. I'm really proud of the leadership within JQ. We have been squeezed on multiple angles since October 7th and things that have gone on in the Middle East and whatnot. We've had a lot of pressure to make a statement in this direction, a statement in that direction. Whatever we put out isn't good enough. There's folks that are policing us on the fringes on different sides. And I'm really so proud that our leadership have stayed the course of recognizing, acknowledging, and understanding that the Jewish queer community is not a monolith, and it's really important that everyone feels valued for who they are and what they bring to the table, and everyone needs to be respected, whether they're a diehard Zionist or they don't want anything to do with Israel, whether they want to be an advocate for change or they simply want to attend. It is really important that we create an environment within our community, and I would encourage everyone to do that in all of your communities. Don't distance yourselves from folks whose opinions are different. Engage them, have conversations. When we can't have empathy for someone else and we can't hear what they're saying, how can we expect them to hear us?
I'm going to sit forward because I love this question. It's interesting because I rattled off a few of my identity points earlier. And the interesting thing about that is if I had a hierarchy of my identity, I wouldn't fit in any room. I wouldn't belong anywhere. If I was consistently looking for somebody that was exactly within my checked boxes, it'd be a party of one. So I think that the important thing here is to recognize that there is no hierarchy in identity. You know, whether you are queer or straight, that doesn't that's not a step above your humanity. You know, whether you're an American citizen or have come to this country as a recent immigrant, that there's no hierarchy in identity, and all it does is add nuance and texture to who we are and how we move through the world. And if someone were to ask me, well, are you a Jew before you're black? Like, on what day? That doesn't work. You know, how do I separate and how do I segment the parts of myself? And so I think that when we're engaging with people, we need to recognize the humanity versus what sets this person apart from me in any given moment.
Just to piggyback on what Nate said, the concept of hybridity, you know, that we have these hybrid identities is something that is so embraced, and not to be repetitive, but I think that idea, and you referenced it, that somehow you have to check certain parts of your identity at the door so that you can be part of something that is considered to be a progressive cause, for example. So, okay, leave your Zionism at the door, or leave your questions about Zionism at the door. I think that's just a losing game for everybody. It's incredibly reductive and corrosive, and we need to build communities where, obviously, if the community is going to stand for something, there are going to be boundaries. But hopefully you can make the tent so big that there really is expansive space for everybody. And certainly we have to build tents that are big enough so that LGBTQ plus Jews can be part of it, and they can proudly wear their Judaism and their connection to Israel with all the questions that they might bring along with that into these spaces. We should demand no less. And the last thing I'd say is that, unfortunately, there's a inconsistency where Jews are often asked to hide that part of their identity, closet, as it were, that part of their identity, and we wouldn't ask others to do that. Like, well, don't tell anyone you're Catholic. Well, no, like, you're allowed to say that. That can be part of who you are, and I don't want to hear about your political beliefs. We should be able to say, no, that's very much a part of who we are. That's part of my hybrid identity, and I bring that with me everywhere I go.
I think especially for people who are striving to earn the title of ally, and I say it that way because I don't think it's something you declare. It's something the community gets to tell you if they feel like you're an ally or not. And so the thing that I try to do to earn that is to speak up, to take responsibility for the role I play, not carrying certain identities, but desiring to be an ally and saying it's my job to be community for people too. And I think we heard today, how in a family, if you're not, yes, you weren't rejected, but if you're not fully accepted, that still causes some kind of something inside of us as human beings. And I think there's healing in the recognition that there are all of these diverse identities within each one human being. And that recognition allows us to heal some of the pain we feel when we are rejected for those identities. So I think also making investments, whether it's through our actions and creating space, whether it's with our dollars and organizations like JQ International, but making investments in the reality that we want to see with our words and our actions is really how we move from, yes, it's a nice idea, but how do we really put that into practice? And for me, one of the things that we try to do is identify those places in community that already exist so people know where they can go. And if we realize that there are not spaces in certain parts of our district or serving certain communities, how do we fill that void? Where can we direct people, and how can we make intentional investment as a county to protect and support community members who would otherwise be left behind?
Amen. The idea of action, I want to speak on a little bit in here. personally, I'm curious, how do you handle that at the end of your day as leaders? When do you turn off the phone? When do you stop paying attention? How do you take care of your mental health so that you can continue to lead? And how can we bring that into our lives? What are some things that we can do to make LA a safer and more affirming place?
Well, my staff is here, so if I lie, they're going to call me out. The truth is, for me, I rarely turn off my phone, and it's hard for me to not be available. So because there is so much need, and I think a lot of pain in our communities right now, and I think the county is uniquely a space that needs to be showing up as a level of government for our communities. So I'm not always great at modeling it, and I will say, especially in this particular moment, it feels harder than ever. And so one of the things that that has been important to me is to talk about it, not to create stress for the people around me or to put upon others, but to acknowledge that it's okay to talk about the fact that we might not be okay. I think a lot of times in Los Angeles, we talk about the crisis of mental health as something that's very extreme, that's on our streets, that we absolutely must address. But that seems very different than some of the internal personal struggles that people might be living through that maybe not be as visible, but are certainly just as important to attend to. And so talking about it, I think, is important, investing in the resources and making them available, and then knowing what it is that I need. Sometimes I do need quiet and alone time. I get asked to go to a lot of events. Sometimes I need to recharge on my own. That's part of it for me. I like to read, and knowing, whether I'm listening to music or reading or having that personal time, because if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of others. So I do have to check myself. I don't always do a great job, but that's where I think saying things out loud allows the people around me who I trust to say, hey, you say you're okay, but you are not, and I see it. Then we create a trusting space to be held accountable and to know that we have to take care of ourselves along the way too, and that it's something we have to talk about.
Got Shabbat? Anybody? Heard about it? Yeah. So that's a wonderful strategy built in, sort of Jewish technology of taking some time off. But one of the things that I always like to remind members of our staff, they love it when I do, is 6 days you're commanded to work. And 1 day you get off, because that's what it says in the Torah. So the idea is that but I think the important part of that is that you embrace the work. And you say, if I see myself as a servant to community, to values that I care about, to God, then that service feels, this is just for me personally, then it starts to feel more like service. And part of that is I have to keep reminding myself it's service. And that can help when there are those moments of frustration, and then giving yourself that time off. So I think having that right harmony is really important. It's not balance. We've been talking about that as a staff, because balance would be like France, you 3-day work week,
France
3 days
sound
off,
bad all the time.
1 day of, what is it? Okay. And then, just 1 day for wine. But this is 6 to 1. So it's not really balanced, but in Judaism, that's the harmony. And again, if it's service. The last thing I'll say is, I'll quote Poppy Neal, a beloved member of our family, who says, there's always time for service. So if you remind yourself of that, and someone calls you and says, Lindsay, I need you, and you see yourself as a servant, then there's always time for service.
Oh, there is always. I appreciate that. There's always time for service. Folks that know me know that I'm pretty militant about my personal time. Somebody from my folks, they understand this. My phone goes into do not disturb from a certain time at night to a certain time in the morning. Jewish Federations of North America operates globally. We have an office in Jerusalem and an office in New York. So when someone's sending an email, it's not necessarily that they're thinking about my time zone when they're sending it. So I've put guardrails around my time. Not just for that, because nobody wants to get an email at 3 o'clock in the morning, but when you are in this type of work, you have to leave something in the tank for when the ish hits the fan. And if you are pedal to the metal all the time for everything, then there's nothing in the reserves when a moment like, June 12th, June 13th shows up and, of last year, and everything gets chaotic. So I'm very much a fan of my hot yoga and my saunas and getting to the beach and going camping, things to decompress so that I can stay in the work and stay as a part of this. And I think that oftentimes we think about mental health as a afterthought, and for me it's become a priority. And I almost have like this mental checklist of things that, like, if I'm not doing this thing, then I know something's wrong. If it's been 2 weeks and I haven't put my feet in the sand, what's going on? Or if I haven't reached out to my family, or if, all these sorts of things. And I think that more than our own personal mental health, when you see someone around you struggling, like, it's incumbent on us to support and show up and say, hey, I see something's not quite right. Let's go for a meal, or let's go for a walk. I think that we can be our own community safety net in a time like this.
I thank God every day for the JQ helpline, for the amazing staff and volunteers. Laura, Sydney, Emily's here, Rabbi RBO of blessed memory, and the many volunteers that have made the helpline possible. Before the helpline existed, it all came to my cell phone, and there was no do not disturb back then. And I was not qualified. I'm not a clinician. I was not qualified to be fielding the phone calls, but they didn't stop. And I happened to be in an all-day long meeting with my friend who used to work at the Federation, Tal Gozani, who witnessed my phone blowing up all day because there were 2 different community members in crisis. And I shared with her, without revealing names, what was going on, and she took me by the hand to the Caring for Jews in Need initiative and introduced me to the folks there and said, you all need to know what's going on here. And they actually helped us with seed funding to start the JQ helpline, which still runs to this day. It's been more than a decade. And it's flown by. It's been a life-saving, a lifeline and a life-saving enterprise for many community members, which helps me sleep better. Not just because my phone's not blowing up, but because there's so many people far more qualified than me to helping people who are in any level of needing of support. And so I feel so grateful for that, and that helps me sleep better.
Thank you so much. How lucky are we to have these incredible leaders blazing the trail for us? Thank you so much for all of your wisdom. I know I'm going to take it with me. And with that, let's welcome Neil back to the stage.
Absolutely incredible. Can we also have a big round of applause for Yona Spida, a.k.a. Our Lady J? If you're not following at Our Lady J, you really should be, folks. You really should be. We're so lucky. Thank you all for this incredible and insightful program. When I think back to our very first JQ Impact Awards in 2014 now, which is now a hot minute ago, things were a little different, right? Our biggest challenges were marriage equality. We were working on creating spaces for LGBTQ Jews to feel at home with each other, and helping the Jewish community recognize and welcome queer Jews for the people that we are. We've made some progress, but our challenges have changed. When I look back to that time, I definitely could not have foreseen where we are today, and I think we heard a lot from our panel about some of our current challenges. I don't go into very many queer spaces anymore without tucking my Star of David into my shirt. That is the truth. Our trans siblings are being hunted and persecuted by our government. That is the truth. And our queer Jews of color face the ever-increasing impacts of rising xenophobia and racism. That is the truth. And that's not news to many of you in this room, right? This is, for many of us, our lived experience every day. So what are we going to do about it? We're going to crawl under the table and call it a day? Are we going to just, lay over and let the overlords have their way with us? Good. Here's what we're going to do. we're going to dig into this well of courage that we have inherited from our ancestors. We are descendants of people who dove into the Red Sea with the Egyptian army biting at our heels. We are descendants of people who fought back against police brutality at the Black Cat and the Stonewall Inn. We are descendants of people who chose love and abundance when everyone else saw hatred and scarcity. Love and abundance. That's what I'm taking away from today. That's where we get our courage, right? When we lean into love and abundance, that's how we reclaim our hope. That's how we move forward. What does that mean tangibly? I've got 3 invitations for you on where we can channel this love and abundance. 1, support this organization financially. Asher spoke about it a little bit. Yeah, thank you. And many of you already have, and I want to thank you for being our financial supporters. Asher talked about it a little on the panel. The honest truth right now is that there are a lot of worthy causes in the world, and some of our big funders are having to be spread very thin. That impacts our work at exactly the moment when the need is the greatest. So please help us stand in that breach. There are QR codes on your table. You can scan and take a look. Those of you watching the live stream, you can go to jqinternational.org/impact awards and make a tax-deductible contribution. If you've already done that, thank you. If you have not, please do. Any amount helps us with our mission. There's also, if you prefer a check or to give in a different way, in your envelope, in your mine's over there. The back of your name tag is an envelope where you can write your credit card information or put a check. So that is the first invitation. Please join me in making financial contributions. Invitation number 2. This organization is built on the work of volunteers. We have a ton of volunteers here today. That is not unusual. That is just how this organization runs. We need your help, your time. If you have a house we can have an event in, if you have a space we can host in, if you have a living room, you want to gather people to have a parlor meeting and meet and share what you've learned, we need that too. Also on that QR code, on that link, is a way for you to tell us how you would like to be involved as a volunteer. That matters. And invitation number 3, share what you've learned here today. Let's not be quiet with each other. We have to be quiet in so many spots, right? This is not an area where we should be quiet. Let's be out there on the social media. Let's be out there with friends. Let's be out there at the dinner table. Let's share the clips from this. Let's really help each other spread the message of love and abundance and courage that we've heard today. That really matters. So, give of your time, spread the word. Those are the invitations today. I hope you'll join us. I want to close, and I see some people with their phones out getting that QR code. I see you. Thank you very much. Those of you online, please go ahead and do that too. I want to close with just a little bit of gratitude. First, can we give a big round of applause for our catering team, the Stephen Wise team here that's been so gracious in hosting us and feeding us. Another round of applause for LJ Small, Adena Smith, Henry Platt. They're our event chairs today. If you're a JQ board member, can you please stand up, my fellow JQ board members, so we can recognize you for your leadership in this community? By the way, we're actively looking for additional people for our board. Please come talk to us if board leadership is something you're interested in. And the JQ staff, if you're one of our paid staff members, will you please stand at this time so we can give you a big round of applause? Special shout out to our development team, Samantha and Lindsay, without whom this event would not happen. Thank you, Samantha and Lindsay, especially. And lastly, a big round of applause for all of you. This gives me hope. This gives me courage. So let's lean on each other in these times going forward. Party's not over, folks. It's gay brunch. So we are going to put out some dessert. We're going to put out some more drinks. We're going to have coffee. We invite you to stay, mix and mingle with our awardees, our amazing panelists. Continue to fuel this work together. And thank you so, so much for your support.